Dear followers, welcome to a new video on the channel. I was 16, on the cusp of a manhood I'd always dreamed of, and this particular night was a rare gift. The apartment, usually bustling with the quiet hum of family life, was entirely mine. My parents had departed earlier that evening, embarking on a journey across town to visit my ailing grandmother. I had opted out, citing school the next morning, but in truth, a thrill of anticipation had coursed through me at the prospect of true solitude. About 3 hours after their departure, my mother's call broke the silence. Her voice, tinged with concern, described a torrential downpour where they were, a thunderstorm that promised to rage through the night. They planned to stay at my aunt's nearby and return at dawn. "Peter," she'd urged, her voice firm, "please make sure you lock all the windows and doors before bed." "Okay," I'd mumbled a half-hearted promise before she hung up. I'd meant to, truly, but by then I was deep in the throes of solo liberation. Loud music pulsed through the speakers, a feast of junk food lay scattered on the coffee table, and a horror movie, carefully selected for maximum chills, was queued up. I lit a cigarette, the cherry glowing in the dim light, and sank into the plush embrace of the couch, melting into the unfolding night. The rain outside was a rhythmic, calming presence, a gentle percussion against the window panes. Somewhere in the movie's second act, lulled by the storm and the cinematic dread, I must have drifted off. I awoke abruptly, my eyes snapping open, to the distinct sound of knocking. My heart, a startled bird, fluttered wildly in my chest. The knocks were not loud, not insistent, but they were enough to jolt me from sleep, to widen my eyes in the darkness. My first thought was our upstairs neighbor. He was prone to late-night visits, sometimes for a struggling Wi-Fi connection, other times to inquire about a package. I dismissed it, turning my attention back to the movie, but then it came again. This time it was more pronounced, a deliberate rhythm. Knock, knock, knock. A prickle of unease snaked its way up my spine. Something felt profoundly off. I paused the movie, the screen freezing on a grotesque image, and slowly pushed myself up, my gaze sweeping the apartment. That's when I saw it. The front door, usually a sturdy barrier against the outside world, stood wide open. Rain, driven by a sudden gust of wind, was splashing onto the hallway floor, carrying with it a scattering of junk mail. My heart plummeted. A cold dread seeped into my bones. I knew with a sickening certainty that I had forgotten to lock it. I rushed forward, slamming it shut with a resounding thud, the click of the deadbolt a small, desperate comfort. I tried to rationalize it, to conjure a logical explanation. Maybe it had been slightly ajar and the wind had simply blown it open. If someone had entered, I surely would have heard them, wouldn't I? My mind raced, grappling with a whirlwind of unsettling possibilities. Just then, a soft, wet giggle drifted from behind me. It was a sound unlike any I had ever heard, devoid of the familiar warmth of a friend's laughter or the canned mirth of a sitcom. It was soft, almost childlike, yet imbued with an eerie, unsettling quality. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, I turned my head. For a few terrifying seconds, I saw nothing but the empty couch and the dark expanse of the floor. Then, from behind the television cabinet, a face emerged, then a head, then a full human body. A figure crawling on all fours, its movements disturbingly unnatural. And I knew that person. It was the brother of our upstairs neighbor, a man I had seen perhaps 3 times in my life, always under the watchful eye of a supervisor. Everyone in the building knew of his fragile mental state, his unstable condition. He was rarely seen outside unless his brother had him firmly by the arm. He must have slipped in while I was asleep, while the storm raged, and hidden himself behind the cabinet, waiting. I watched in frozen horror, my mind a blank canvas of terror, utterly devoid of any coherent thought. He crawled across my living room floor, his back arched in a grotesque curve, knees and palms on the ground, his head tilted unnaturally upwards. He stared directly at me, an unblinking, unsettling grin plastered across his face as if we were engaged in some macabre game. I recoiled, backing away until my spine hit the unyielding surface of the front door. "What the hell?" I stammered, the words catching in my throat. He continued his slow, deliberate crawl, drawing closer with each agonizing second, and then, with a sudden, horrifying lunge, he was upon me. His hands, surprisingly strong, clawed at my face. His laughter, once soft, now piercing my very soul. I screamed, a raw, desperate sound that tore from the depths of my being, a sound I had never known I was capable of producing. His laughter escalated, transforming from a raspy cackle into a guttural, demonic growl. His fingernails raked down the side of my face and neck, leaving trails of fire. After a desperate struggle, fueled by pure adrenaline, I managed to kick him off. I scrambled to my feet, my legs like jelly, and bolted into the hallway. There, in the stairwell, I collided with his brother, our neighbor, his face a mask of fear and panic. Seeing my ragged breathing, the blood on my cheek, he understood instantly. He rushed into my apartment, emerging moments later, a firm grip on his brother, who was still laughing, a chilling, unhinged sound. He pulled his brother back, apologizing profusely, his voice thick with anguish, while the man continued to lunge, attempting to reach me. I stood there, trembling, the blood on my cheek a stark reminder of the nightmare, completely in shock. I think I mumbled something, a desperate question about why he was in my apartment, but I don't even remember if the words escaped my lips. The neighbor, clearly as shaken as I was, explained that he had been searching for his brother for the past hour. Somehow, during the chaos of the storm, he must have slipped out. He had found our door unlocked while wandering the hallway, a terrifying coincidence that had led him directly to me. I never pressed charges. When my parents rushed home, their faces etched with worry, I begged them not to call the police. He hadn't known what he was doing. The situation, while terrifying, was devoid of malicious intent. However, his brother and their entire family vacated the building shortly after. The landlord, I assume, must have informed them that his brother could no longer reside there. My father later told me that their family had placed him in a psychiatric facility soon after. Even now, the memory haunts my sleep. I often wake in a cold sweat, convinced my door is ajar, and a smiling, crawling figure is slowly, inexorably making its way towards me.